Hello there, my little goblins. Spooky season is upon us. In today's video, we're looking at how to make the slide-up LED crochet basket. It's perfect for the little trick-or-treaters in your life. With just a few supplies, you'll be able to make your very own. If you'd like the free written pattern, I have that available on my blog. The link is in the top right-hand corner and the description box below. Let's not waste any time and jump right in. Okay, so let's take a look at the supplies that we need to get started. You're going to need your yarn, of course. I'm using Lion Brand Woolies. This is the colorway Lollipop. You're also going to want your crochet hook. This is an M-in hook, which is also a 9mm. And then you're also going to want your LED string lights. And you can get these at any store really that sells Halloween items. This is a 9-foot rope of LED lights. And then you just want to choose a colorway that's going to match your yarn. So I've also made another one of these in orange. Of course, they're really common in like the Halloween colors. And then for the orange one I used the colorway Pumpkin. You're also going to need a yarn needle as well as scissors. And then later on, I'm going to show you how to use a piece of cardboard to stabilize the bottom of the basket. But we'll look at that at the end of the video. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so to get started, we're going to begin with the magic circle. If you're not familiar with this technique, please check out my other video, which I will link to in the top right-hand corner, and that will show you how to complete the magic circle. Okay, so there we have it. I'm just gonna take that tail end out so it's nice and easy to tighten up there. And then I'm going to chain 1. Now the magic circle, you chain 1 to close it up, and then that additional chain 1 brings us to a height of chain 2. Now we're working this project in half double crochet, so that brings us to the height of the stitches for the round, which is what we want. It's important to note that we're not going to be counting this chain 2 as a stitch. Some patterns that use half double crochet, they count the chain 2 and some do not. I think it looks nicer to not count it. It's just a personal preference, so I'll show you what we mean when we get to the end of this round here. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to do 8 half double crochet into the magic circle. So I'm going to begin by yarning over, then I'm going to insert my hook and complete the half double crochet. So that's yarn over, insert your hook into the magic circle, yarn over, pull through. I've got 3 on the hook there, and then yarn over and pull through 3. So just a quick peek at what we've done so far. I've completed 2 stitches, and you can see the tops of them right here, 1 and 2. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold, so if my voice sounds funny, just bear with me. Okay, so next stitch, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, pull through. We've got 3 loops on the hook, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through again. And that's our 3rd stitch. So let's go for our 4th. Here's 5. 6. 7. And 8. If you need more instruction on the half double crochet, I also have a video for that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove my hook, and then I'm going to show you guys how I tighten up the magic circle. So you can see here that's more like a rainbow, right? We want it to meet up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch this last stitch here with my thumb and my finger, my pointer finger, and then I'm going to just gently tug on the tail, and you can see how that's bringing everything together really nicely. Okay, very good. So now for this project, we're going to slip stitch to join. So again, we're not counting that chain 2 as a stitch, and you can see that sort of right here. It gets almost like eaten up by this other first stitch. It's really small and fiddly, so there's really no point in counting that as a stitch. So let's go back and just make sure we've got our correct amount. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And so that's the top of the first stitch there. So what you're going to do is insert your hook, get it nice and tight. You're going to insert your hook into the first stitch, and then a slip stitch is to just yarn over, and pull through 1 and pull through 2 loops on the hook there. And you can see that that gives us a nice clean flat circle. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand this, make it larger until we have the diameter that we want. So to begin round 2, we're going to chain 2. Again, that does not count as a stitch. I'm going to be working into this first stitch here, and then each stitch around is going to get an increase. And that means I'm going to work 2 half double crochet into each stitch around. So we're going to begin by yarning over, insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, and then do that again into the first stitch there, complete the second half double crochet, and that is our increase for this first stitch. So I'm going to do that again in each stitch around. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, that's 1 in that stitch, and then here's the second one in that same stitch space. Okay. Here we go for our third increase. Because we began round 1 with 8 stitches, and I'm working an increase in every stitch around, we're going to end round 2 with a total of 16 stitches. Okay, so now you're at this point and you're wondering, is that a stitch or not? So let's count to see. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. What you're seeing here is that first stitch. That's that chain 2. So at this point, once you have 16 stitches and you know you've evenly increased all the way around, you are going to slip stitch into the first stitch. Right there. That is the top of that first stitch. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, both on the hook. Okay? Now at this point it looks like this is sort of opened up a bit and I want to close that. So I'm going to flip it over. Again, I'm going to just pinch it right here and I'm going to pull it a little bit more tightly. And that looks much nicer. Okay guys, so for the beginning of round 3, what we're going to do is chain 2, and then I'm going to work 1 half double crochet and then an increase, and then 1 half double crochet in the next stitch and then an increase, working 1 half double crochet in the first stitch and then an increase in the next stitch, which is 2 half double crochet in the same stitch space. And that's the repeat. So we're going to do that all the way around. So again, 1 half double crochet in the next stitch space, and then 1 increase in the next stitch space. So 2 half double crochet in the same stitch space for an increase, working 1 in the next and an increase in the next. When we get to the end of this round, we will end on an increase. Each round we work, we're increasing by 8 stitches. So at the end of this round, we'll have a total of 24 stitches. an increase in the last stitch. Okay, and then we're going to slip stitch in the first stitch space to join. You can see here pretty clearly this time that this is the chain 2. There's 1, 2, and then the first stitch space. So we ignore that chain 2, that doesn't count as a stitch. We insert our hook into the first stitch space, yarn over and pull through to join. Okay, so to start round 4, we're going to increase, we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to do 1 half double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So there's 1 half double crochet in the first stitch, 1 half double crochet in the next stitch, and then an increase. Okay, so 1 half double crochet in the next stitch, 1 half double crochet in the next stitch, and then an increase. And that's the repeat. So 1 half double crochet in the next stitch, 1 half double crochet in the next stitch, and an increase in the next stitch. And again, we're increasing by 8 in every round. So when you get to the end of this round, you're going to have a total of 32 stitches. One half double crochet in the next stitch, 1 half double crochet in the next stitch, and then an increase. Okay, and then we are going to slip stitch in the first stitch to join, yarn over, pull through, and pull through again. Okay, so that's the bottom of the basket. What we're going to do next is we're going to work on the body of the basket, and the first row of this, or round of this rather, is going to be single crochet. So I'm only going to chain 1, because that is the height of single crochet. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to single crochet in each stitch around in the front loop only. So let's take a look here. This one closest to me is the front loop. This one furthest from me is the back loop. Typically we work under both of them, but if I work under just this front loop right here, it's going to shift the way that the basket is, and it's going to bring up the body. Let me show you what I mean by that. So I've inserted my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through, and then yarn over and pull through 2. That's a single crochet. I'm going to insert my hook just into the front loop. Hope you guys can see that there. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and again, single crochet into the front loop only of each around. So coming up through the middle of the stitch, yarn over and pull through. I've got 2 on the hook, and then yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, and I just want to show you what's happening because you can see what I mean already, is that working in the front loop only has sort of changed the direction of the stitches. They're coming up now. And so if I show you like this, you can see how this is going to warp sort of the stitches that I'm working on now and pull it up so that it makes a basket. After this round, we're going to begin working with the LED lights. I just want to make sure that the stitches are headed in the right direction before we get them involved because it's a little bit fiddly. So insert your hook under the front loop only, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through 2.
All right, guys, so I'm going to just speed this up and I will meet you back here when we're at the end of round 5.
Okay, so I'm just going to go under both loops and I'm going to slip stitch to close. Okay, so again, let's take a look at what that did. You can see now how it has some dimension to it, right? That's the fun thing about working in the front or the back loop only, is that it really makes your project more three-dimensional. Okay, so now let's grab our lights. Okay, I've had these lights for a year in storage, and so the plastic of this sort of broke off, so I've taped it in place. So just ignore that. Okay, so get your lights all untangled. What you want is the battery pack and then the end that's closest to the battery pack, because this is going to set in here and then we're going to wrap it around as we work. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm just going to undo this end here. Okay. So to begin, we are going to chain 2. We're going to go back to working half double crochets. Okay, so I just want to get that started before I hold it. And then having the battery pack just flat on the bottom, you're going to want a few inches of slack, probably about 3 inches, just setting inside there. And the reason for that is because later on when you're done, you're going to need to adjust the lights throughout to make sure that it's sitting nice and even, and you want a little bit of slack at the bottom to do that with. Okay, so it's really easy. All you're going to do is work 1 half double crochet in each around. The hardest part is holding the lights in place and working over them, but it's really not that difficult. So let me show you how it's done. So we're just going to yarn over, and then I'm holding the lights against the stitches here. I hope that you can see that. Let me try to make sure you can. Okay, so I just have it flush with the row. And then all I'm going to do, this is my first stitch here, is I'm just going to work over it as if it wasn't there at all, right? Holding it in place. I've got my yarn over, I'm going to pull through. I've got 3 on the hook, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. So that's that first stitch. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to do it again. And it's just 1 half double crochet in each stitch around. Here's my next stitch here. So I've got my yarn over, I'm going to insert the hook, just working over the lights. The first couple rows are definitely the most fiddly, and then once you get past those, it gets much easier to work with the lights, okay? So yarn over, insert the hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through 3. One thing I'll say is that normally I wrap my yarn around my finger like this, right? Some people go like this. Everyone's got a different way to do it, but for projects like this where you're working with chunky yarn and then you've got other things going on, it's really better to just have it go over your finger. And so that way you don't need to be tugging and pulling. The tension can get messed up if you are having it go through your fingers, especially with the thicker yarn. Okay, I'm just going to adjust here so that you guys can see everything really well. That's just the tail end. I'm just moving that out of the way. We're nearly halfway through this first row here. I'm just going to take that tail end, that slack, and I'm going to tuck it under the battery pack and just push that down so that way it's not getting in my way. So you can see how once you get the hang of it, it's really not more difficult than just crocheting traditionally to hold these lights in place. This is a really fun idea, and I'm wondering what other applications this holds, because like I say, it provides a lot of structure for the yarn, and I'm just really curious to see, trying to use a similar concept with other projects, what you could make. You know, I could see this having a lot of applications with costumes or cosplay or baskets or... Okay, so this is our last stitch here. And now this is a very important piece right here. So what I'm going to do is, you can see the lights kind of want to go in front, right? But I don't want them to show on the outside as I connect and slip stitch to join. So I'm going to make sure that the lights are closer to me on the inside of the basket. And then what I'm going to do, again, the chain 2 does not count as a stitch, so I'm going right into the first stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch as usual. So get my hook in there, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through, and yarn over and pull through. And you can see that puts the lights on the inside of the basket. What you want to do throughout too is, you can see it sort of puckering. So you want to pull on the lights to make sure that it's flush with the diameter of the bottom. You know, you don't want it to pucker and close up like this. So as you're working, just make sure that you're evening out the tension of the lights with the yarn so that they're even. Okay, and so now we're going to work on round 2. Again, I'm going to start by chaining 2. We're going to just grab the lights again. This is our first stitch here. Oops, I split the yarn. So there's my chain 2. Okay, there's my first stitch. I'm just going to grab the lights again. Get it in there, hold it in place. Do it all again. So what I'm working on right now is round 7. We had 5 rounds at the bottom, right, including the single crochet that brought us up to make the basket shape. This is round 6, this is round 7, and what you want to do is you want to work 11 rounds. So meet me back here at the end of this round, and I will show you once again how to slip stitch. Okay guys, so we're coming up on the end of round 7. You can see here I've got my last 3 stitches. If you're having trouble determining what is the last stitch, every round from round, let's see, it was from round 5 on, is 32 stitches. Okay, so if you need to go through and count, you're going to have 32 stitches. Okay. There's my last stitch. And then again, to even out the tension, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these lights in here, and then I'm just going to make it even with the diameter of the bottom. And you can see how that works really nicely. The lights are going to want to twist around. You can see I've got my little slack, the rest of the lights here, so I'm just going to unravel them, and then I just have them set in my lap. So let's look again at how to slip stitch to join here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that in just like that. You want the lights closer to you on the inside of the basket. If you were to hold them on the outside of the basket and slip stitch, this would be visible on the outside. And that's fine, but it looks much nicer if you keep it on the inside. So bring the lights towards you, closer to the battery pack, and then insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over, and pull through. Okay, that looks great. So now I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to hold the lights in place. I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to insert my hook into the first stitch and complete the half double crochet. Okay guys, so carry on until you complete round 11, and then I will show you how to fasten off. Okay guys, so I'm just about to start round 11 actually, and I wanted to show you how the lights will match up with the end of the round. If the tension is correct throughout the whole thing and it's nice and even to where the stitches are lining up with the diameter of the bottom of the basket, right? And then you've got your couple inches of slack just in there where we started. You can see how at the end of round 11, you're going to have just enough lights to get you through. So again, let's take a look at how to slip stitch. I'm going to move this out of the way just for now so you can see what's going on here. So I've got my lights on the inside of the basket. There's my chain 2 that we started with. I'm going to insert my hook into the top of the first stitch. I'm going to yarn over and pull through both. I'm going to chain 2. And then holding the lights, I'm just going to work all the way around. So what would I recommend if you don't have the right slack of lights remaining, like if it's too much or too little. What you can do, it is a little bit fiddly, but what you can do is you can turn the basket on its side like so, and you can adjust the position of the lights. You're just going to want to slowly tug it in one direction or another, feed it through, right? Like if you have too much up here, try to hold it like this, pull it on this side, right? So that some of the lights comes back down into the basket. If you don't have enough at the top, you should pull it tighter throughout so that way more of it comes up throughout the basket, and so it gets you right to the end there. Now ideally, if you've been keeping your attention throughout, it should work out to where it's just like chef's kiss, the right amount of lights at the end of row 11, okay? The first time I made this, I have to admit, I definitely had to feed the lights through. And then I found, oh, just a couple inches of slack at the bottom there. It's all it takes to get it to be just right. But playing with yarn, not too bad, right guys? If it's not the exact right amount and you've got to sit there and sort of mess with it for a minute, there's worse things than playing with yarn. Okay, so just make sure that's tucked in there, and then we're going to slip stitch in the first stitch to join. And then at this point we can fasten off, and that completes the body of the basket. So what we need to do at this point is crochet the handle, and so we're going to do that next, and then I'll show you how to get that attached too. So real quick, to fasten off, you've got your big loop here. You're just going to cut a little ways down. I always give myself a lot of extra tail to weave with, just because it's easier for me. Like, it makes me less stressed to have a longer tail to weave with for some reason. And then we pull it through, and then there you go. And this tail, if you've cut a nice long length there, you can actually use this to help you attach the handle of the basket. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So for now, let's set this aside. I'm gonna just wipe off my fuzzy little workspace here. And then we're gonna get started with the handle. This is pretty easy. All we're going to do is chain 19, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. And then we're going to turn it, right? So we're going to be working in this direction. And then we're going to skip one. Then we're going to insert our hook into the second stitch space, the second chain there. And then we're going to single crochet in each stitch across. Okay, with single crochet, the turning chain doesn't count as a stitch, so now we have a length of 18 stitches. So what I'm going to do is chain 1, I'm going to turn it again, and then I'm going to work across all 18 stitches, working one single crochet into each stitch. Okay, perfect. So that will be the handle. Really simple, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fasten off here, and I'm going to cut again a really long tail because I'm going to use this end to weave in to the opposite side of the basket. So let me show you really quickly what I mean by that. So this tail right here, I'm going to weave in, and that's going to be nothing on that end. And then this one, I'll put through this side a couple times. I'll weave in and out there, and then I will use the tail in the basket to attach to this side, and then this long tail here, I'm going to use it to weave it in and attach it there. Okay, so let's take a look at what that's going to look like. This part I'll probably end up speeding up. Just looking for the right size finishing needle here. If you guys don't have finishing needles, you can absolutely just use a blunt yarn needle. These are just pretty nifty. I've got another video on these if you're wondering what they are, what they're used for. It just is meant to make weaving in the tail ends a little bit more convenient, which I am all for. I don't think any of us like weaving in the tail ends. You know, I say that, but then I do wonder about people who weave more often. Like if people who are weavers end up crocheting, if they're ever annoyed with us crocheters being like, we don't like weaving. Maybe some people do like it. I don't know. I think the consensus in the crochet community is that doing tails is a total pain in the butt. Okay, so I went 1 inch in one direction, and now I'm just going back about 1 inch in the opposite direction. Try not to split the yarn. Okay. And I always pull it a little bit tight and then trim it. And then just pull it back in and it's hidden. Okay. So I think I'm just going to attempt to move this up a bit. There we go. Okay, hopefully you can see that a little bit better. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tail end that's attached to the basket, and I am going to get it on my finishing needle there. I am just going to go in through a couple of these stitches in the basket to get it started. So that way I feel confident that the basket itself is closed. Okay, that's pretty much all I need there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick the side of this that I think looks better. I think that this is a little bit nicer, this side here, so I want this to be facing out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get this tail end that's coming from inside of the basket just a little bit lower in the basket. And what I mean by that is I'm going to weave it down to where I'm starting at about 1 row in. So you can see here that this is 1 row, right? And then here's the second row down. I'm going to start in between these 2 rows here, so that way the edge of the basket handle is a little bit further inside of the basket, right? Because you could theoretically put it like this, but then that would put a lot of pressure on the stitches right there, right? If I put it a little bit lower and really secure it in there, that is just much more secure. So that's what I'm going for. So I've got it coming out where I want it, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it here, and I'm just going to sew it into place. This is so dark in here. I really hope you guys can see this. I apologize if you can't. I will try to brighten it up in post. But in theory, all you need to know, maybe if I go like this, is that we are, yeah, there we go. I think that is visible. Okay. So now we're just going to kind of go through some of these stitches. Again, I'm trying to do it to where you guys can see it. So I've got it going in to the handle and then in to the basket. Okay. Then into the handle. And then into the basket. Just do your best. This is not an exact science. You're just trying to get it attached as best you can here. As long as it works, as long as the handle is attached in the end, that's all that matters. It's going to be on the inside, so it doesn't really need to be very pretty.
Okay guys, and then once you're done with this side, you're just going to repeat it for the opposite end.
Okay, so one thing you might be noticing is that it's a little wiggly on the side. So again, just adjust the tension with the lights as best you can. You can see how just a little bit of finessing makes it really cute, nice and even. I'll show you on the side here. So one thing we still need to do is weave in our tailing at the bottom. I'm not going to show you guys how to do that because you get the gist of it, but I do want to show you that if you have the lights dangling here, it's going to sort of sag like that, and that just doesn't look very good. So a quick tip on how to stop it from doing that is that the bottom of your basket needs a little bit of a base. So you want to cut a piece of cardboard or plastic. What I have is one of these bottoms that comes in reusable bags sometimes. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trace the diameter of the basket, and then I'm just going to set that inside, and that's going to stop the batteries from making the bottom of the basket sag, and from preventing it from sagging when it's also full of candy too. Okay, so you, like I say, you can do this with a lot of different materials. Whatever you have on hand is fine. I would use cardboard if it's what's available to you, but if you have something like this, that's great too. I think cardstock would even work. If you really want to take this to the next level, you could put that in there, and then on top of the batteries, you could just place inside another flat circle. So you could work rows 1 through 4 again, and that would give you just a flat circle that is the same diameter of the bottom of the bag, and you could set that inside. I'm lazy. I'm not going to do that because I think my kid is just gonna ignore the batteries. So, but if you're making this as a gift or something like that, and you really want to take it, like I say, to that next level, you absolutely can do that. So what I'm doing here is I've just got a piece of chalk and I've traced the outside of the basket, and then I'm going to take my non-fabric scissors and I'm going to cut this out. I think I'm probably cutting it too big, which, guys, it's always better to cut it too big the first time and then have to trim it down than it is to cut it too small and not be able to go back. Okay, so let's see. That was really easy to cut. I was not expecting it to be that simple. So let's actually take the batteries out. Try to to get this in there. Sorry for the shaky camera. Yeah, I think I'm going to cut it just a little bit smaller. You could even end up reinforcing it. Use two materials. This one I have is sort of old, this bottom plasticky piece. I've had this for a while, just sitting in my car in the heat, and I think it's maybe not as strong as it used to be. So I'm probably going to also cut a piece of cardboard and set that in there too. There is nothing wrong with that. Whatever gives it a little bit of support at the bottom, that's what you want. Okay, so I've got that in there, and then pop that battery pack in there, and you're good to go.
I hope you guys have enjoyed making this light up trick-or-treating basket, and I really hope that your kids will enjoy it too. If you enjoyed this project, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video.